Hi everyone, my name is Crystal, and this week we're focusing on community at the intersection. So the book starts out, Fluker's book starts out talking about how community at the intersection is really like a quest for community, but it's also a sense of community. So basically what I wanted to touch on from the first 6 pages of the book, 8 pages of the book, is what the difference between quest and sense of community is. So basically a quest for community is a physical state of being where you're actually searching for groups and memberships and just people that you can build a community with. And then sense of community would be more of the spiritual, emotional sort of sense of community, where you actually get a feeling of belonging from it. So it's more of your mental capacity and really like in your brain feeling belonging and feeling like you're a part of something bigger than just yourself, versus a quest being you're just wanting to be a part of it. You're not actually a part of it yet. You're working on getting to be a part of it, but you're not quite there. And then lastly, the quest for community would be the fact that you're looking for these groups and companions to spend, a couple of years, the rest of your life. It kind of is situational as to what kind of a community you're looking for at that given time, but you're looking for people that you can build that community with, versus in a sense of community, you're actually a part of the group, so you're more along the lines of caring for one another and creating those bonds that are going to last forever. So then the next part that I'm going to focus on is really the next section of the chapter, to the end of the chapter. It's talking about his ethical leadership model, which is the triangle that you can see there. That's just a screenshot that I took directly from the book on page 130. So in the book, it states, quote, "Our model seeks to engage participants in the quest for community at personal and social levels through the production of their own rituals or creative exercises." So community is on the spirit side of the triangle, and it's composed of courage, justice, and compassion, which I will be going into in the next few slides. I'll be really picking those three apart. I'm going to focus a little bit on compassion just because it's something that really hits home for me. However, I will explain courage and justice because they're truly important to the model. Now, taking a step back to the quote that I just stated, our book talks about how there's a significance of community for self and civil society within this model. So community is really the three parts of the triangle coming together. At one point in our book, it says that the model starts with integrity and ends in compassion, making a full loop on the spectrum. So it really starts out with the different virtues that you would want to possess as a self, and then the three virtues that you want to possess as a social, and then ending with the spirit one. But the three of them really tie together, as you've been reading and learning about in the past 2-3 weeks. And once you hit the community part, it's really a chance for you to put all 9 of the virtues into a working model that's true to who you are, unique to who you are. So it would be you putting all 9 of the virtues into your own daily life. So the first one would be courage. So I pulled 2 quotes from the book that are listed on page 131, which really kind of put courage into a perspective that I've never really taken to look at courage before, which I thought was very unique that the book did that. But I also liked it because, like I said, you don't normally think about it in the way that these 2 quotes talk about it. So the first one is from Plato. So he says, "No, courage is knowing what not to fear." And then Aristotle states that courage is the first of human qualities because it is the quality which guarantees the others. So starting with Plato's quote, to pick it apart a little bit, everyone has something that they're afraid of, when in all reality, we really shouldn't be afraid of it, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. So Plato's really talking about, like, you want to know what you should fear and what you shouldn't fear. So I can't think of any examples right off the bat, but like for me, I'm afraid of heights, whereas a couple of my best friends aren't afraid of heights. So heights isn't something that you should be afraid of. So you really have to balance coordination of mind and the will to learn not to fear something in order to get over your fear, which is kind of what he's talking about there. And then Aristotle, with him saying that courage is the first of the human qualities because it's the quality which guarantees the others, is really talking about how you have to have the courage to do something before you have the compassion and the empathy or hope or respect to actually go forward with the actions. And then, like I said, it's a balanced coordination of mind and will. You have to balance between the two in order to actually go through and get over your fears and to have the courage to actually make a difference in your life or in the life of others. And then the book goes into talking about how it's achieved through practicing integrity and recognition. So you have to recognize that there's a need for a fear, but you also have to have the integrity to work through the fear. So then justice, which starts on page 136, is talking about how you have to be, not only do you have to be aware of the rules, but you also have to abide by the rules. So let's say there was a law in Fond du Lac talking about how you're not allowed to cross the road without there being a crosswalk. However, Marion doesn't have a crosswalk over by Cedar Creek Apartments for them to cross the road to get to campus. So a lot of students will just cut across the street. So we're aware of the rules, but we don't necessarily abide by the rules. So that's a negative example. Whereas a positive example would be that you're supposed to stop for people in a crosswalk. So on Johnson Street, it gets a little busy, but people see that there's an elderly lady who wants to cross the street. So people slow down, come to a stop, and allow her to cross the road. So that's knowing the rules and abiding by the rules, even though you may be a couple minutes late to work because of it. So it truly comes down to being a personal choice. You can choose to either abide by the rules or not abide by the rules, which we all know that, but the book really does a good job putting it into perspective. And the quote that I really liked from this section is on page 36, and it's from Thich Nhat Hanh, and it says, "Mindful breathing and walking provide an inner balance that creates an internal environment that enables the practitioner to work for justice in the world." So basically what that's reminded me of was that when you're working towards social justice, you have to keep breathing and you have to keep going forward, even though there's going to be major setbacks. For example, if you know that something has to be done in the city of Fond du Lac, but you know you're going to receive a lot of backlash from your friends and faculty here at Marian, if you want to make a social change, social justice change, you're going to keep breathing and keep walking and keep going and to make that change, because it does mean a lot to you. And eventually, the more you push forward, the more people are going to realize, hey, this is actually a really great idea. We should really start listening to this person. And eventually, you're not going to receive as much backlash as you originally thought you would. A lot more people are going to start getting on board, and then you're going to be able to push forward even more than you originally thought you'd be able to. So then the last part of the model is compassion, which I said I was going to focus on because compassion really hits home for me. So compassion starts on page 145, and the book says that it's the most important dimension of the ethical leadership model. However, I think all of the 9 virtues are important. We all have to possess all 9 of them in order to be good ethical leaders. So that's just something to keep in mind there. The quote that I really liked from this section is from the Dalai Lama. And he says that compassion is translated in the Tibetan language to Shen Dug Nagal Wa La Mi Sopa. And I probably did not pronounce that correctly, but it translates to the inability to bear the sight of another's suffering, which that I feel is very influential of a translation, and it just really hits home for a lot of people. In our leadership courses, some of you may have taken it, and some of you may have not taken this course already, but you'll take a course with Dr. Mary Klein, where you work as a group to create a service learning project like you all took part in freshman year. And you pinpoint different ideas, and you really work together to narrow it down and come to one idea, general idea within the class to go forward and do the service learning. So this year for our project, we're focused on the Solution Center in Fond du Lac, which is a domestic abuse and homeless shelter. So it's really us coming together and working towards a change and ultimately trying to ease some suffering from some of those individuals that end up going to the shelter because they've been a victim of abuse, or they've been a victim of homelessness. They've fallen victim to homelessness. But it's more than just that. The book also talks about how it's sharing in suffering and in triumphs. So it's really working with that person through every step of the way. So we're doing just a small little project to help the Solution Center, but compassion is really helping a person while they're suffering, but then also being for them as they're being successful. So the Solution Center works with individuals while they're suffering domestic abuse or homelessness, but then after they have left, I've talked with several people from the Solution Center throughout various projects. My service learning freshman year was through the Solution Center, and I have wrote a paper and I found out that a lot of the people who have stayed at the Solution Center will keep in touch with some of the faculty that work at the Solution Center, so that when they get a raise at their job, they're in email correspondence, and the faculty can share in their success that this person is having. So it's really being there for them throughout their entire life. So it's also an awareness of the interdependence of all things. So compassion is really putting all of the other 8 components of the model into a perspective and actually going forward with stuff. And then obviously it's relating to the person because you are directly affecting them and you're helping them through the times of need and whatnot. Compassion is just something that I'm sure it hits home for almost every one of us in this class. It's just who we are as people. We can't bear to see the sight of another person suffering. So I know some of the guys in this class are hockey players or sports players. So just think about it as like a teammate falling down. You help them back up. Or for some of the healthcare professionals that are in this course or psych majors, think of it as you're helping a patient, or in a therapy session, you're helping one of your clients get over something that has truly affected their life. You know, it can be truly taken for every single situation. I know I didn't touch everyone in class. I don't know everyone personally, so I don't know how exactly it would relate to you, but for every single person, there's going to be a way that it relates. Compassion is just something that people tend to do on a daily basis. Not everyone, sadly, can say that compassion is something that they take part in, which is really something that needs to be changed in today's society. However, a lot of us that are here at Marian are compassionate, just simply because the Marian community definitely reflects those within the core values. With service, we're a service learning school that values helping others. So compassion is definitely something that's going to hit home for everyone, which is why I definitely wanted to focus on compassion a little bit more. But yeah, the book definitely does a good job of talking about the 3 different ones: the justice, compassion, and courage, and really put it into a perspective for developing a sense of community. So I hope you guys enjoyed reading this chapter as much as I did, and I'm sure that all 3 of the virtues related to you. So thank you.